Fellowship of Lake Norman. We are glad you're here in person and those of you watching online. We are an open and inclusive liberal faith organization. Our members follow diverse paths to find meaning and purpose. We are united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all and by the responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Lynn Henderson and I have been a member since 2010. To any visitors here today, a special welcome. If any of you would like to introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here today, please do so. And if not, please stay around afterwards, after the service, and get to meet Reverend Pat and our members. We begin our service with lighting our chalice. So please say the words in your order of service as we do so. Light this flaming chalice to the land of our we see. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Our speaker today is our minister, Reverend Pat Jobe. And as he is gifted at doing, he will explore a topic that eminent thinkers have tackled for centuries and never came to any conclusions. Could the universe... Not true. Maybe one eminent thinker has drawn a conclusion, and we'll learn that. Could the universe be just a giant hologram, quite literally a projected image created in part by the human mind? Our opening words today come from the Hindu text, the Upanishads. As is the human body, so is the cosmic body. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the atom, so is the universe. Our musician today is Mike Alec, ably assisted by Eddie Gunn. Now, if you would please turn off your phones and open your hearts and minds, and we will enter into a time of contemplation.
Is that tolerable? Yeah. Only 6 flubs.
I know, man, you didn't flub.
You did not flub. This is going to be a trip, y'all. Okay, now my esteemed colleague, Lynn Henderson,
just said that I was going to talk about the possibility that the universe might be a holographic image projected by a single mind. You did say that, didn't you?
Well, sort of, not influenced by all our
Influenced by all our minds. Okay. She was close. Does anybody want to tell me about a holographic image you're familiar with? This is all going to be talked about today.
Princess Leia.
Princess Leia, exactly. How many of you know what he's talking about? Princess Leia, first Star Wars movie. It was not a very good holographic image. It wavered a lot. Another way that holographic images are used is in what are called mega churches. One of them is a church called Seacoast. It has many, many campuses around the country. And each campus has its own band. Nobody as good as Mike Alec, but they have their own band. And they have their own ushers, of course, their own greeters. But there's only one speaker for all the campuses. He is live at one campus, and he is a holographic image at all the other campuses. He appears as a 3D image on the dais of their worship centers. Weird, right? Pretty weird, pretty freaky. Okay. Marilyn Ferguson, in her book, The Aquarian Conspiracy. Anybody read The Aquarian Conspiracy? Darn. Okay. In her book, The Aquarian Conspiracy, Marilyn Ferguson tells us that a piece of holographic film can be cut in half, and then when the laser passes through either half, the entire image shows up. And then if the film is cut into quarters, a laser can be passed through each of the quarters, and the entire holographic image will show up. She said, although it will be highly distorted, the film can be cut into 1,000 pieces. And when a laser passes through, the holographic image shows up. Anybody going to say anything about that?
Whoa.
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 Whoa. No kidding. Whoa. All right, I'm going to give you another example of a holographic image. Last Saturday night, we had an auction. Not last night, but a week ago Saturday. We had an auction. Was anybody not at the auction? I don't want to embarrass anybody, but okay. There was a holographic image that showed up at the auction. It was when Doug Wall announced that we were going to be bidding on Jim Price's birthday party. And every hand in the room went up. All of a sudden, everybody in the room was Sue Friday. That's a holographic image. The laser beam passed through Sue Friday, who's planning the birthday party, and it appeared all over the room. Whoa. Oneness. We all became one in our desire to be at Jim Price's birthday party. Yes, sir.
Tracy clarified that. She said people really like Sue.
They really like Sue, yeah. Exactly. Count on Tracy. Count on Tracy. What if each of us is a tiny lens through which passes the laser beam that reflects the entire universe? Darwin really struggled with this. Darwin discovered at the cellular level, which was as deep as he could go with his technology, that every cell was a tiny universe. Every cell had orbits and open spaces and the appearance of planetary forces in every cell. Allison Rustin is a woman who had a near-death experience. And she's kind of a woo-woo teacher now. She doesn't hold to any particular religious feelings or traditions. And she's on YouTube a lot. But in talking about her near-death experience, she said what she came to see is that everything is reflected in everything. And where she found this to be helpful was in dealing with people who she didn't like, people who were hard to deal with, people who she might even dare to hate. She realized they were all part of the all in all. That's what she calls it, the all in all. She said, we think we live in a dualistic universe. We think we live with right and wrong. We think we live with hot and cold. We think we live with up and down, but we don't. What we live with is a unified field. It's all one thing. Now, in preparing to be here today, I've run this by a number of people, and everybody tells me, well, that might be true, but it's awfully hard to wrap your mind around. No kidding. No kidding. Or as Eddie Gunn would say, whoa. Listen to what Einstein says about it.
Me and Einstein.
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah. In fact, Eddie worked with Einstein on this particular quote.
We got a trooper.
Gravity wins. Gravity.
Yeah. See, you had the illusion right then, right? That it's up and down. It's not. It's all one thing. It's all one thing. And Mike Alec and I are one as we work with this microphone. Okay, here's what Einstein and Eddie Gunn said. A human being is part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. We experience ourselves, our thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. Do you see what Eddie did there? Optical delusion. I love that. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from the prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. The true value of human beings is determined primarily by the measure and the sense in which they have obtained liberation from the self. Whoa. 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 Marilyn Ferguson argued that all of us are tiny lenses in a holographic universe. That as we show up, the whole universe shows up. Walt Whitman said, a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars. John Wren Lewis, who is an Australian psychiatrist, also had a near-death experience. He concluded that the essence of everything is holy. As he was having this outer body experience, as he was on an operating room table, as he had left his body and could see back into his body, he said, I felt like exclaiming, of course, that's absolutely right. And applauding every single thing with tears of gratitude, not just the now sleeping Anne and the small, she was in his hospital room, and the small jar of flowers the nurse had placed by my bedside, but also the ominous stains on the bed sheets, the ancient paint peeling off the walls, the far from hygienic smells, the coughs and groans of other patients, even the traumatized condition of my own body. From the recesses of my memory emerged that statement at the beginning of the book of Genesis about God observing everything is good. In the past, I treated these words as mere romantic poetry, referring only to conventionally grand things like sunsets and conveniently ignoring what ordinary human consciousness calls illness or ugliness. Now all the judgments of goodness or badness which the human mind necessarily has to make in its activities along the line of time, were contextualized in the perspective of that other dimension I can only call eternity, which loves all the productions of time regardless. He said a truly mystical paradigm has to be post-evolutionary. It has to be a divine play for its own sake, where any purposes along the line of time, great or small, are subordinate to the divine satisfaction that is always present in each instant. Before he had this experience, he was a cynic. He was a person who did not believe in anything spiritual, anything divine. So what do y'all think? We've got 32 minutes till 4 o'clock, y'all. Whoa.
How would you simplify this concept in a nutshell? Because it's too difficult for me to grasp.
Thank you very much.
You're not the first person to say that to me. And you're getting an amen over on your right hand there. It's difficult to grasp.
I had one where, when Pat told me about this, that this was going to be his topic, one question I asked him was whether he had ever read a book, a series of books actually. When Pat told me about the dueling microphones, when Pat told me about the, I can act it out with interpretive dance in a moment.
We're gonna try one more
I'm
time.
usually loud enough to be heard. When Pat told me about his idea for this talk, the first question I asked him was whether he had read any of a series of books by Jane Roberts called the Seth Speaks books. That they are among I would say the only books I've ever read that were life-changing. And I think there's a quote in the first one that might speak to what you're saying. And the first one is called The Nature of Personal Reality. And the question that Seth and Jane pose in that first one is, how much of the reality that you experience is created in your own mind versus how other people are experiencing it? And if you really think about it, you are experiencing things a little different right now than anyone else. And many people have said throughout the ages, if you focus on something with your thoughts, that is what you can manifest. And so that's kind of what I thought, that's a good way in a nutshell to look at it. How much are we creating ourselves out of our own beliefs and our own thoughts, and how much might that actually create a huge belief. There's also a name of an effect, and I can't remember its name, but it's a law of physics that if people think they remember how a certain thing happened, but in reality it happened differently, how much of that was what we each experienced in our own mind. So that makes much sense. That's kind of how I viewed it when Pat was telling me about it. Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts.
Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. Veronique, I'm gonna try to get as close as I can. Come on, Gio. I'll answer Veronique's question in a minute.
Oh, you won't need to after
Okay. Counting on you, buddy.
No, there's also a good series of books called Conversations with God.
Yes.
So the whole premise is that we are here on earth as an experiment from the universe, or they use the word God, but I use the word universe. And we're here to see what it's like to be in this convention that we have agreed on is going to be. In other words, we're individual people. Well, that's one convention, when in actuality, we are one. We are part of the universe. We are part of everything. And I like that approach, even though I don't use the word God, because it says that we can experience things, and to reach nirvana is when you realize that we all are a part of the universe, and we're just fooling ourselves by being in this convention. And I can't break out of this convention yet.
But you might.
I might.
Yeah. And people who take hallucinogenic drugs often can get out of the convention. Not only people who have near-death experiences, but people who drop acid or take MDMA.
What do you say about it?
I can count on that guy. Count on him. It is extremely difficult to not only understand it, but to operate out of it. But with all due respect to all the veterans in the room, how could anybody serve in the military if they believe the whole human race is just one thing? How could you ever aim a gun at anybody and pull the trigger if you believe the whole human race is just one thing?
How could you not if your family is in danger?
Okay, it's a good question. It's a good question. I guess it's both.
Yeah.
I guess it's both. And owning that it's both, embracing that it's both, is even tougher. That's even a more difficult concept to wrap your mind around. But I really believed very strongly that we were all part of one thing when I got out of bed this morning and was planning to go to the grocery store and buy cookies, and my wife told me they were already in the oven. Anybody else? Anybody else want to throw one up and take a swing at it? It's come on, Linda. Come on up here. Come on up here.
This is, I'm following.
You're not following at all.
No, I don't get it. But I just, this is a very simpleton kind of thing I want to say, but the only hologram I ever saw was on American Idol when Celine Dion sang a duet with Elvis Presley, maybe 10 years ago. And it was so realistic. It was fabulous. And that to me is a hologram. And man, I'd love to have Elvis come join us someday.
I'll see what I can find out in that area. Yeah. Thank you very much. Come on, Sue. Come on. Or talk. You can talk into Jim's microphone. Yeah.
No, I'm not a person who's taken psychedelic drugs, but I have two brothers who experience them rather regularly, and it sounds very much like what you're saying. You know, that they see a blade of grass and they are a part of it, and the colors and light becomes so, I guess, alive.
Yeah, everything comes to life. Everything is alive. We are part of everything in that state of consciousness, in that state of awareness. Alan Watts, who was a Zen teacher in the 60s and 70s, might have made it into the 80s. He said, with a very beautiful British accent, he said, "A day is coming when we will all look out into the stars and say, it's me. It's me." Anybody else want to take a crack? Yes. Jim's coming, Claudia. Jim's coming.
The thing I was thinking about conflict and shooting other people, it's all because of our imagination from the very beginning of it. It's because that we imagine we're going to be harmed by someone else. And even the people doing the harm are afraid of what's going to happen to them, or afraid they're going to lose control or not be safe. And so they start it. So it's all filtered through our imagination, the whole thing is. And I don't feel like there should ever be any reason to kill someone else, to shoot someone else.
I wonder if anybody's seen the Matrix.
Oh, has anybody seen The Matrix? Okay, Matrix here, Matrix here, Matrix here, yeah. Yeah, it really deals with that whole alternative reality. When you're in the Matrix, you're experiencing life as one thing, and when you come out of the Matrix, it's something else. And I appreciate Lynn reminding me of this. She was talking about Seth, this entity that Jane Roberts channels. And I was at a workshop one time and we were talking about the Matrix, and I said, wasn't it amazing how so much of what was in that movie sounded like Jesus and Buddha? And one of my workshop mates said, no, it sounded like Seth. So your view always depends on your point of view. Anybody else? This has been great, y'all. I'm sorry, Veronique. I'm sorry that it's so hard to wrap your mind around. But please know that you're not the first and you won't be the last to find that to be true. It is tough.
And I think it is okay not to understand. We have
Yes.
to be, there is so much mystery in the world, and there will always be.
Yes.
And that is totally okay to
Yes.
admit that.
Yeah. Yeah. There will always be mystery. There will always be mystery, for sure. Okay. Y'all are wonderful.
So are you.
Oh, come on, Sue. Come on. Jim's got the microphone.
I think the term alternate reality is sort of not a good one to describe it, because this is not really reality as I think of it, and I'm very literal.
What you mean what we're experiencing right now is not reality?
No, I mean, what you get when you take psychedelic drugs and so forth.
That's not reality.
That's not reality.
This is reality, but that's not
This
reality.
is reality. The James Webb's telescope is reality. And as it goes through space, it's not finding heaven. It's not finding souls drifting around. And you and I have had some discussion on this before, and where I'm coming from, is not here. And it's not, I think some people have good imaginations, some people have good drugs, whatever. These things are, they can happen. But is it reality? I think we could question that.
Do you think 4G eyes can pick up a Jeep?
Yes.
With the right motivation, yeah.
And with the right adrenaline?
Adrenaline, yeah.
But when they get back to base, after they've picked up a Jeep, turned it 180 degrees and driven out of an ambush, when they get back to the base, they can't pick up the Jeep. Now, which was real? The not being able to pick it up or the being able to pick it up?
Probably both of us.
There you go, both.
They're not.
I'm going to keep selling both, Sue.
I'm not gonna buy it either.
I understand. Yes, Gio.
It's Gio again, sorry. All of this to me is academic. It's not spiritual. I don't know what is out there or afterlife or anything like that. But this sort of thing would explain the anomalies that we run into, like ghosts. What are ghosts? Well, some people say they're not real, but other people have experienced them in a reality.
Right.
So I believe in the possibility of anything and everything. I don't know about probabilities sometimes, but it's also, time is a convention that we have come up with.
Yes.
In other words, everything that happens right now in present, and everything that happens historically and in the future is happening right now. And that's a tough one to grab hold of.
It is.
But
Sue ain't grabbing, Gio. Sue's not grabbing.
did cavemen have fleas? Huh? Did cavemen have fleas? If we believe they did, then they did. If the universe is, as our convention says, that's what happened, then that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then we believe in fake news?
I was just
What's that?
Do we have to believe in fake news?
It's an aspect that is a reality. It does exist.
Sometimes, well, that's delusion. Right there. Trump epitomizes delusion. He lives and his cohorts live in an entirely different world. At this point, I believe that they really
I do
have
too.
their own,
Okay, so now we're out of control. Jim, Greg's got his hand up.
Just with regards to following the Webb telescope, James Webb telescope, and seeing the things that it is now showing us that we could not see before with the most powerful telescopes that we had, because their perspective of what to look for was different. James Webb, with this infrared focus that it has, is enabling us to see things that we were not able to see before. And yet still, we know that there are a lot of things out there that we can't see. Dark energy is one of those things that we cannot see, we cannot prove its existence, but we cannot get by without accepting its existence. All things are possible.
While Jim's taking the microphone over to George, I want to tell you one more story. Sam Harris is one of the most prominent atheists in the world. He's also one of the most compassionate atheists. He's not nearly as mean as Richard Dawkins. But Sam Harris dropped MDMA. And he's sitting with a friend, and he realizes that he loves this friend unconditionally under the influence of the MDMA. He's crazy about his friend. He said he also realizes that if any stranger had walked into the room at that moment, he would love that same stranger just as much. That was reality for him. Okay, George.
Well, and I include myself in the hour when I say that the OUR hour, not the HOUR, that we're dealing with limited minds.
Yes.
And because of that, we have to set up parameters. So that everything is referential.
Mm-hmm.
And I majored in math in undergraduate school. Even math is referential. It's not an absolute. There are no absolutes. That's the concept that I think is difficult to wrap our minds around. And I'm speaking to a small group tonight about the 18th century reenactment that I do. One of the questions that I have gotten from people is, how do you get along without technology? And Greg reminded me of this with the telescope discussion. And my response is, we have technology. It's just 250 years old.
Right.
But we have technology. It's just different. So our referential points keep changing.
Yes. Yes. I heard a woman on the radio say 600 years ago, everybody believed in the divine right of kings. Today, nobody does. Speaking of the 18th century, a horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, what's going on with you? He says, I don't exist. And he disappears. The reason he disappears is because he can't think. And you all will remember that Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I could have told you that at the beginning, but that would have been putting Descartes before the horse.
All righty then. Okay.
Mike to the rescue.
Musical reflection, Mike to the rescue. Mike to the rescue. It's always very interesting, though, to hear what everyone's points of view are. And sometimes when you hear each other explain how they see things, you think, I wouldn't want to see things that way. But on we go. Bravely.
By the way, Pat's here to Thursday. Try the veal. You know when they say that, try the veal, it's because they wanted to encourage people in Las Vegas to try the platters so they could sell more stuff. Maybe someday we will rise and see. Open up our eyes and it may be. Turn a corner, you may find worlds of love and peace of mind. One fine morning, you will see. Break the chains, yeah, set it free, yeah, yeah. Broken spirits trying to heal the scars, searching for an answer in the stars. How can I just close my eyes? How can I just let it slide? One fine morning you will see. Break the chains, yeah, set it free, yeah. Let's spread the wonder all across the universe. Reach out and seize a moment before it slips away. Don't let it slip away. Maybe someday we can stop the rains. Open up our hearts and heal the pain. Feel the love that's calling you. Take these words and make them true, yeah. One fine morning you will rise. Greet the new day from your eyes. And you know it's true. And you know it's true. Yeah.
This fellowship is important to us all. Gravity always wins. Your contributions today will allow us to sustain and grow our congregation and to reach out to our community, both nearby and in the larger world. Your giving affirms our commitment to each other and to the community. Thank you, everyone. Let's take a look at the announcements in the bulletin, if you would do so, please. First, to remind everybody about the social supper. And Linda?
Crafty burger today.
Okay, Crafty Burger today. Crafty Burger. So let Linda know if you'd like to go, and that's right after services today. Movie Tuesdays are still going on. And it looks like this Tuesday it's going to be the movie Young Woman of the Sea at Birkdale. So also let Linda know if you want to join in to that. The next fence build for the Heart of the Carolinas UU Animal Ministry is coming up on Saturday, June 15th for Roxy and Piper. And that will be in Lincolnton. This is in honor of Jim Price's beloved Pie, who passed away at the 1st of May. This fence build will be in honor of Pie. And volunteers are welcome. If you need to know more, you can contact Claudia. And our next day for being at FeedNC will be Thursday, June 13th, 10:30 to 2:30. And if you want to join the crew, you can contact Jim Arnold. And we are still grateful that Sue Cameron has joined the tech squad. But that intrepid squad still needs more volunteers. So step up and volunteer if you like. All right, our closing song today is number 1058, Be Hours of Religion.
I have a quick announcement.
Quick announcement.
These UU bumper stickers, which would also work on your refrigerator or your bathroom mirror, have been made available to us by some UUs in New Orleans. So I'm going to put them out in cookies. Take one home with you or cheap.
Stand please, we will sing Be Hours of Religion.
Be yours a religion, like sunshine goes everywhere. It's temples on space, it's really good heart, it's creed, it's true. The ritual works. Take one, Eddie. Yours a religion, like sunshine goes everywhere. Temples on space, shine a good heart. It's creed, it's true. The ritual works of love. Eddie just learned it.
And Pat will have our closing words.
You did a good job, Eddie.
The other guy.
This is from Alan Watts, who you heard me quote earlier, saying, "A day will come when we will look out into the stars and we will say, it's me." He says, "We do not come into this world, we come out of it, like leaves from a tree. As the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the whole universe. That fact is rarely, if ever, experienced by most individuals." Veronique, that's because it's so hard to understand, right? It's rarely experienced because it's hard to understand. "Even those who know it to be true in theory do not sense or feel it, but continue to be aware of themselves as isolated egos inside bags of skin.
Very good. If you would all stand now and join hands and join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth.
Warmth of community.
These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. And we'll sing Go Now in Peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. Let the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Good job, Mike.